toasting, joking too. Sipping and roasting is what we do. Light 'em up, drink 'em down. Whiskey and cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. We are thrilled to have you here as we are on location today, and we're heard, of course, now not only all over the world in the podcast form, and not only on YouTube all over the world, but we're now heard all across the United States on a number of different radio stations, which we have no idea what they are. But we'll know eventually, and when we do, we'll do that. We'll do that Casey Kasem thing.
Someday they'll put us in the loop and let us know.
Yeah. So when they do, we'll do that Casey Kasem thing, like Smokin' and Toastin'.
If you're hearing us on the radio for the first time, send us a message and
let us know where you're from. Our email is st@rfcmedia.com. We'd love to hear from you. Well, welcome to our 324th show, and this is our fourth show now, Ian, on the radio. So it's a very exciting time for us as people are hearing Smokin' and Toastin' for the first time all over the place, driving off the road.
So it's show number 324.4.
There you go. I like that. It's kind of like a star date.
That's right.
Yeah. So we are on location today. We are in Katy, Texas, at the Cigar Exchange. I have to say it's the first time that I've been here, and already I can tell you I love this place.
Yeah, it's great, man.
Their humidor is it's nice size. It's not huge, but it's really nice size. But most importantly, it's extremely well curated.
Yes.
What they have selected to offer in there, it's all the right stuff, and that's very impressive. And we have as our special guest today, our returning special guest, I should say, because this is the third time.
Third time,
right?
yeah.
Third time.
Mr. Darnell Streat, who is the managing partner with Emperor's Cut Cigars. Darnell, welcome to the show again.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
It sure is nice to have you guys on, and it's nice to have someone right here in our backyard who's producing high quality, really well-made, well-blended cigars. You guys really do it right.
Thank you.
And I know you have a really nice banner. Who's the handsome gentleman with the glasses there?
I wish it were me, but he was photoshopped. I paid for him.
So he's some guy from Tennessee or West Virginia or California, someplace.
Exactly.
Well, he looks the part. I mean, he's got that distinguished kind of vibe going. Yeah. And the glasses make him look studious.
Exactly.
So I like it.
Yeah.
You've got the studious glasses on too. So, well, welcome. We're excited because you've got something new, don't you?
Yes, sir. I'm really excited to be here to share it with you guys.
Well, good.
This is my first podcast doing this as well.
Okay.
New
Wow.
product.
So you came to us first. That says either something about this show or it says something about the potential options you may have had. I don't know which, but but we are honored. We really are.
I love you guys. That's why I'm back.
It's going to be awesome.
We appreciate it. And I know we maybe showed the box off here, but I'm going to actually pull one of these babies out because I have not yet begun to smoke. And this is a good-looking cigar. I see the red on the band. That's different. Is that different from the other Emperor's Cut?
It is. We did a tribute to the Tuskegee Airmen, and
so that's what this top of this box.
Yeah, the top of the box looks awesome.
But you've got the whole fighter plane there and the Tuskegee Airmen. That's very cool. Was there a particular reason that resonated for you guys to do that for the tribute for this cigar?
Yes, we have what we call our heritage brand, and this was our first cigar in the heritage brand. So we thought that we'd do a tribute to the Tuskegee Airmen. I used to be in the Air Force. I have another partner of mine that used to be in the Air Force, and we have a Marine. So we thought we'd do a tribute to the military guys, and we selected the Tuskegee Airmen as our first one.
Is that a P41 in the background?
I believe it is, and the red tip on the cigar is for the red tail, representing the Tuskegee Airmen.
Very nice. Well, I have a stepson who's going into the Air Force.
Yeah.
He's
all right.
Training now to repair planes. Probably not that one, but but it's very exciting. I love the shape of this cigar, and I was just giving it a good. That's got such a rich tobacco aroma to it. It's just
now
really
reaching.
You're gonna love it.
I knew I was getting ahead of you there, Ian. So I'm excited. I'm gonna light that up in a bit. We have, I think, a great show today. We'll talk with the proprietors of the wonderful cigar lounge and cigar shop here in Katy, Texas, the Cigar Exchange. We're also going to talk to Darnell about what's been happening with Emperor's Cut, what they did in the blending of this cigar, and we're going to do a little tasting of some fine libations.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. We're going to start today with a new variation from one of our favorite breweries, Founders Brewery.
I love Founders.
These guys are so good. They're out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Their all-day IPA, in my opinion, is probably the standard for sessionable, lower-calorie IPAs. They've now branched out and done a couple of different all-days, and we'll be trying their all-day Crimson Sky. It's a red IPA.
Okay.
So we'll be trying that today. It's brand new. From Oxbow Brewing Company in Newcastle, Maine, we'll be trying their Luppolo. It's a dry-hopped Pils. We have a second IPA today, this one from Drekker Brewing Company, their Blacklight Syndicate double IPA, which looks from the can like pretty aggressive.
So we got a couple things I've never even heard of.
Yeah. And then finally, I don't know if you've heard of this one, but I know you've heard of it because I was talking to you about it. From Martin House Brewing, Fort Worth, Texas.
Love them already.
They have a beer called Big Country. It is a smoked pecan and vanilla stout.
Oh, wow.
And I've had this, and the second I tasted it, I thought, I've got to bring Ian this beer. He's going to love this. So we'll see if I'm right. So we'll try all of that. Plus, we're 1 week away from what will be our Cinco de Mayo show. And on our Cinco de Mayo show, we've invited our tequila expert, Liliana Rodriguez, but we've also invited our wine expert, Mark Burrell, who's a huge fan of tequila. And together with the two of them, we'll be doing an Anejo tequila blind taste test.
That's going to be way too much fun. Those two personalities together.
Oh, yeah. We've never had them in the same room at the same time.
I love it.
So
they're both so fun.
Yeah. And I've taken the liberty of ordering Ubers for everybody already. And we'll also have some food on hand because we're going to be tasting a lot of different Anejo tequilas. And I'm very excited. But with a blind taste test, it'll be interesting because we can tell you what we think about it without being at all prejudiced by what we know it to be.
Drinking the label, so to speak. Yeah,
exactly. So really excited. We've done that with several other products. We've done it with light beer. We did it with hard seltzer.
That's right. That's right.
And we didn't do a blind taste test when we did the malt liquor, but I can just tell you it was all bad. It was varying degrees of bad, but it was all bad. So, yeah, there's that. Anyway, we are excited to talk about some things today. Cigar lounges are back in North Dakota. This is a major legal victory. So we'll tell you about that. That's very exciting. And we've got experts have recommended the top 5 tap rooms in the United States.
Oh.
I thought with summer coming, people are going to be traveling.
In the whole United States.
Yeah, in the whole
that's
top
a lot.
5
That's
tap
a
rooms
lot
in the
to
US
narrow down.
to just 5.
Yeah.
So I just thought this would be a good time to share this because as the weather's starting to warm up, people are traveling. You may be going on vacation, different places. One of these might be in your vicinity as you travel, and you may want to check them out. So all of that is coming up, plus alternatives to the hyped bourbons. And you know what I'm talking about, the hyped bourbons.
Right.
It doesn't mean the hyped bourbons are bad, but they can be a little expensive and they can be
hard
to
to get.
Like Whistle Pig, for example. Some of their stuff is a little hard to find. So alternatives to hyped bourbons is what we're excited to look at. And then, of course, our most popular segment here on the show. We don't exactly know why it's the most popular, but it certainly seems to be, is Drinking News. And we'll have that for you today. And our Drinking News teaser headline is C is for cookie. It's good enough for me. And we'll get to that coming up a little later in the show.
Now that song is stuck in my head.
Yes, I know.
C is for cookie.
It's a great song, right? And, I learned so much from Sesame Street. I mean, you learn about language, you learn about tolerance, and you learn about dignity and how to behave. But you also learn a little bit about addiction because of Cookie Monster. You know what I'm saying? Now, he's not really hurting himself, but he's definitely got an issue when it comes to the cookies.
Yeah, he definitely gets into the cookie.
Yeah, so it's an important it's an important thing to begin to form those values. When you're a child, you're like, yeah, I can't be quite like Cookie Monster, but I used to love him. All right, Ian. Talk about something so I can clip my cigar.
Okay, I'm going to talk about how fantabulous I love this box with the P51 and the whole Airman on top of it. And the cigar is just taunting me. Now I got to wait for you to clip yours so I can get mine.
Well, yeah. You know what? Do you have a cutter, Ian?
You know what?
This one is one of the ones with a back on it.
There's a cutter right here, and I actually have one of these at home that I use all the time. That I got. I think the first time you guys were on the show, you gave me one of those.
Right. That was mighty generous of me.
It was very generous.
All right.
You're a generous kind of guy.
I like you guys.
Well, we love you. We love having you on. I know I'm not Mike, so keep joining in.
Oh yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was just like going on because I was like, oh.
Well, when we're in the studio, of course, we don't have to hold the mic.
Right.
But here we're handheld, and so it's important to get everything into the
and
mic.
You need to get like we used to play years ago with this band from New Orleans, and the drummer wore a bicycle helmet that he had fixed a goose. He fixed a gooseneck too, and had a mic out in front.
Are you not talking about Cowboy Mouth, are you?
No, they were called Rutabaga.
Oh, okay. I've heard of Rutabaga. But I think the drummer was a singer in Cowboy Mouth, and he used to do the same thing too. I think, especially when he wanted to go like away from the drum set and start like crawling all over the side of the stage and all that stuff. They were a pretty wild band live. Never quite put it down on record the way the live show.
I'd have to figure out how to do the microphone with the gooseneck and then the two beer cans.
Well, and
top.
you see the guys that do that with a camera, right? They put that camera on the gooseneck, and then you get that fisheye look as they're riding a bike or whatever they're doing. It's actually pretty cool. So a lot to talk about on the program today, and when we take our break here in just a moment, I'm going to light this bad boy up, and we'll have our first sampling of the. What does it say? The red tail series.
Yes.
The Emperor's Cut. That's a tribute to the Tuskegee Airmen, and that is, you know how some boxes you buy a box of cigars. Once you smoke the cigars, you're like, well, I've got several cigar boxes. I don't need to keep this. This one you're going to keep because it's just such
great looking.
It's almost like a collector's looking box there.
We would hope someone would say that. That's what we wanted you to keep the box.
Yeah, it's just
Nice.
really very tastefully done. I love the matte black surface. It's just very, very cool. So excited to start smoking this, finding out a little more about what's going on at Emperor's Cut, because you guys are a true boutique cigar company that is not, you're not out there everywhere, but I know your reach is growing, right?
Yes, sir. We're growing. We're in 132 cigar locations and shops around the country. We're also featured in Total Wines in 38 stores.
That's nice.
And as we sell more, we get more stores.
Sure, you get more people taking you up on it.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
I love it. Well, we really like the cigars, so we want to help push that out there a little bit. And for those of you who are listening somewhere where they don't have this is something to keep an eye out for, because these guys are going to continue to spread the cigar love around the country and hopefully around the world, I would guess. So
we want to.
All right, we're going to find out a little more about that coming up. Plus, I mentioned cigar lounges, much like where we are now. They're back in North Dakota. This is one of those major legal victories, and I am very excited about sharing this with you because, we seem to lose a lot of these legal tug of wars around the country, especially the ones that are in the local areas, and some city council has passed some sort of ban.
The unfortunate side is too, cigar smoke gets lumped in with all other smoking and vaping and everything else. It's a very different critter.
It really
is.
So.
And should be treated thusly, but they think they hear the word smoke.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to take a break, and we will be back. We're going to talk about that a little bit. We're going to light up these Emperor's Cut special cigars and tell you a little bit about what these offer when they are first lit up and we're first starting to smoke them, because that's an important part of the cigar experience. We'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting.
In the beginning, so the story goes.
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And I do want to take a moment to say hello and welcome to people who are hearing us for the first time, because I know we have first-time listeners and viewers on every show as the podcast goes, but now we have people who are hearing us for the first time on the radio around the country. So we want to welcome you, and if you want to let us know who you are, what you like, what your favorite beer or spirit or cigar is, or all three, and just have us mention you, shout you out on the show. We'd love to do that. So we are send your emails to st@rfcmedia.com. That's st@rfcmedia.com. And by the way, we do an email bag segment now from time to time on the show where we'll answer your questions about cigars or spirits or relationship advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
What kind of music you should be looking for and listening to.
Certain music pairs well with cigars.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll stay away from politics, but pretty much anything else we're happy to get into. So,
all right.
So that's the way we like to do it. All right, so we are at the wonderful Cigar Exchange in Katy, Texas, and Ian has already got the Emperor's Cut cigar lit. Tell me what you're getting.
Well, I'm loving it already. I'm getting like a really nice, almost a white pepper kind of feel in my mouth right off the initial light, and a really nice classic tobacco kind of feel. I don't know how else to describe it than that, but sometimes you get that super classic tobacco like note that you get here. What is the blend on this? What is the...
So the wrapper is San Andrea, and the filler is Sumatra Ecuadorian. And I really appreciate you saying you're getting that kind of classic cigar smoke. That's exactly what we were going for. We was trying to recreate kind of in that period piece.
Yeah, it's got a little pepper. It's got a little bit of campfire in the best way. A little bit of then that classic tobaccos. It's real hard to.
I think the
describe.
Ecuadorian Sumatra is, when I first started smoking cigars, I just knew, I kind of like this. Like I didn't know anything about what tobacco had what characteristics. But as I've tried different things, the Ecuadorian Sumatra has a tendency, in my view, to deliver that kind of classic tobacco. What you might think of as a sort of a classic Cuban tobacco kind of flavor.
It's a very earthy kind of thing going on.
Absolutely, yeah. Because it's so much of how the tobacco tastes is about the soil where it's grown, the terroir, as the wine
you're getting fancy.
People would say. Yeah,
using words where you don't pronounce letters.
So tell me again, the wrapper is
San Andrea.
That's so good.
The filler is the wrapper is San Andrea, and the filler is Sumatra Ecuadorian.
And it's just a wonderful combination, and it's a little different. I smoke a lot of Nicaraguan cigars, and this has a little different flavor profile, but it does have a full. I wouldn't say that it's full bodied, but it's definitely full flavored, if that makes sense.
It's definitely, I would say right off the bat, just from the initial, this is falling in somewhere in the medium range, but it's also like just a few puffs in, it started to settle down almost immediately and gathering a little bit of a nuttiness kind of to it as
Agreed.
well.
I'm getting a little bit of nuttiness, a bit of wood. I would almost say like an oak that's kind of filtering in on the tongue, and it's a very pleasant cigar. And I got to tell you, this is one, because we're in the Blue Lounge here at the Cigar Exchange. I can tell you that the room note on these is fabulous, because you guys had yours lit before I got mine lit.
Yes,
and I was like, oh, I am loving that. So room note can be important, especially if you smoke cigars like out with friends or other people who are not smokers. Right. Some cigar room notes are more off-putting to them, and some are the ones where they're likely to say to you, "Ooh, I like that the way that smells." And this to me is one of those. It's got a very nice room note to it. Ian, anything else you're picking up?
Man, well, so like outside of the flavor, the construction on this is beautiful.
Oh yeah, I got a nice clean burn line.
Yeah, the burn line's nice. The feel of the cigar, you got a little oiliness, a little leathery kind of feel to it, and then it's a little past a medium firmness in the roll overall. It feels very well constructed.
I agree. And I love torpedoes. I don't smoke enough torpedoes. I have a tendency to smoke mostly Toros, but whenever I smoke a torpedo, I'm like, oh yeah,
yes,
this is just, there's something elegant about it. In my opinion. So being able to have that slightly smaller space that you draw the smoke in through, it really kind of intensifies the flavors to me. So,
well, it's such a classy looking cigar, too.
It absolutely is.
The label you guys have, the logo you guys have is a very classy looking logo.
Yes,
like
it is.
You have on your shirt there. Nice.
And I want to ask you about that. We'll do this when we come back because we got to take a quick break. But I want to ask you about the logo and about what's happening now with you guys at Emperor's Cut. Plus, it's time for beer, guys. This segment coming up. Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars, heard all over the United States on the radio, and, of course, listened to around the world on in podcast form. This being our 324th show, which is a lot of cigars, a lot of beers, and a lot of spirits in our time. So It's a pretty cool thing. We are live today, or on location today, I should say, at the Cigar Exchange in Katy, Texas. My first time to be in here. I really love this place. Already a fan. Already will be coming back and doing some shopping. And our guest is Darnell Streat. He is the managing partner of Emperor's Cut Cigars. That's what we're smoking. Darnell, this is a really nicely complex blend with a great combination of flavors. Tell us now. I want to make sure I heard you correct. Is this another edition of a blend you guys already do, or is this a brand new blend that you did for this particular cigar?
This is a brand new blend. We worked on this blend for about 7 to 8 months, and we started a new series in our cigar collection called the Heritage Series, and we intend to develop several cigars under that line. And the first maiden cigar was the Red Tail.
Okay, and the Red Tail is the one that we're smoking here. Will this be a limited release, or is this something you will continue to have available?
So we did a limited release, but our customers absolutely love it. And they've emailed us and asked when can they get more.
Yeah.
And because of popular demand, we should have the second round of cigars being released probably about the third week of April.
I want to go back to something
third week of
May.
Of
May. Yeah. I want to go back to something you said earlier. You said it took you 7 to 8 months to get the blend, tweak the blend, get it the way you want it. This is one of the reasons that I would love, if I had the money, to start a cigar company like these guys have done. That 7 to 8 months of trying it and going, well, I think we're almost there. Let's tweak it a little bit. How fun would that be? Ian, your job today is to smoke 2 of these and see if you think it's better than the last batch and if it's what we want to ultimately. I love the concept of that whole process.
Do you guys have one main person who does the blends, or is it kind of everyone tries it and then puts in their input?
So we have a group effort where we are blending the cigars. We have a master blender to guide us, but we call it baking a cake. So we will come up with some initial concepts, scratch off a few that don't work, get some test cigars going, and then through several iterations, we get to that aha moment where this is the one.
Yeah, nice.
And we'll let it rest for a month or two, come back to it and go, yes, this is the one.
Darnell, where do you guys have these actually rolled? Because I'm looking at an almost perfect burn line, and I'm looking at Ian's, and his is just spectacular as well. Yours is, I mean, this is one of the problems that I think smaller boutique cigar companies can run into is they can get a blend that they really like, but because they're outsourcing the rolling and the actual construction of the cigars, it can be hard to get the quality that you're looking for.
Quality control.
You guys have clearly done it here.
Absolutely. So we look at the supply chain. We work with La Aurora and their master blender, Manuel Anoa. He's really taken us under his wing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
you
that's
had
enough.
me at Manuel Anoa.
That's enough. Okay.
Yeah. No, I get it. No, those guys know what they're doing.
Yes.
I mean, this is aren't they the oldest non-Cuban cigar company in the business?
I don't know the history, but I know that every time I picked up a La Aurora cigar, they're fantastic.
And they're also celebrating their 960th anniversary or something like that. Yeah. I'm exaggerating, but it's now I understand, because those guys really do have it. So great choice for you guys. That's terrific. You mentioned that this is the first in your Heritage Series.
Yes, sir.
So there will be more, I take it.
There will be more. We're working on a few concepts now, and we'll look to put another one in the marketplace maybe in a couple of months.
That's great. That's fantastic. And you also mentioned you had people already responding to this. Have you guys been building up like an email list, or how do you hear that kind of feedback from your customers?
So we have a mailing list, like you said, and then we do a little bit of advertising. And because we're in 130 some lounges around the country, we usually put some samples out to some of our key lounges so that their customers can give us feedback.
That's a nice little perk, huh?
Yeah. We try to make it work, and then we try to get that groundswell, and then that determines really how many cigars we put into production based on the demand.
I'm curious as to, is that an email list that people can join?
Yes, sir. They can go to www.emperors-cut.com and join the mailing list, and you may get one of my partners reach out to you and ask you would you like to, participate in some of our product development.
Oh, how cool is that?
Yeah.
I love it. See, that's what you get from a smaller boutique cigar company. You're not going to get it from General Cigar. They can't do something like that.
That's groundwork and very organic at the same time.
Absolutely. Ian, you have poured a beer that you are way ahead of me on because I can tell you started
I'm doing
your research.
Yes, I'm doing research on this beer.
This is Founders All Day
Crimson
Sky IPA.
Yes.
And so the regular Founders All Day IPA, like I said, I think at the top of the show, as far as I'm concerned, it kind of sets the gold standard for sessionable, low-calorie, low-carb IPAs. Tell me your thoughts on this one.
My thoughts on it. So the All Day IPA is a good beer. This is a great beer.
Oh, you like it better?
Yes.
Wow.
This is a great beer.
So tell me what it is that really lights you up about this.
So this has a beautiful bitter finish. Mm-hmm. And I say that in the best possible way. It has this
reminds
beautiful
me a little of an
bitter,
ESB.
crisp finish. Yes, very much. It has almost that kind of finish to it, but it also has this round, malty, and fruity kind of thing going on right at the first sip.
Yeah,
that makes it really, really outstanding.
You're right. It's got a little bit of that hop bitter snap on the end, but the first thing you get is kind of fruit and malt.
Yeah, this is one that I'll definitely reach for. I like the All Day IPA. But the All Day Crimson Sky, I hadn't heard of this one, and I'll be reaching out for more of this. I also love they got the old Woody station wagon on the
which
front of
they
it.
have on the regular All Day IPA as well, but they stayed with that theme, which is kind of cool. Darnell, are you an IPA guy? I don't remember from our previous...
I do. I love IPAs. I love anything that goes down good with a cigar. Mm-hmm. I find the same. It's crisp. It's got a good bitterness to it in the front end, but it's very clean.
Well, and it is true that, and we talk about this, that some IPAs do fight with the cigar a little bit, but this one's going nicely with this. It still has the bitter, but it doesn't make the cigar bitter, which is an important thing. Because there are some IPAs that, quite frankly, I love, but they just don't go well with the cigar. So I don't have those when I'm, when I'm enjoying a smoke. But
it brings out like the cigar on its own is starting to develop. Like I mentioned the nuttiness earlier, there's also the wood, the oakiness that you mentioned, but it's also got a toast, kind of a bread and toast kind of thing going on.
I was going to say a little bit of a creaminess, but that describes it better.
And it's lightened up a little bit where I thought it was going to be a medium cigar. Now it's definitely in the medium to the
lighter side,
the light to medium range, the kind of.
But it's still very full flavored. And my biggest reason for not smoking as many lighter bodied cigars is I just don't get as much flavor out of a lot of it. This one is that wonderful exception where you get a really nice big mouthful of flavor and different parts of the different notes that you're getting in the cigar with every puff, even though it's a lighter body.
I would say, I don't know that I would call it a light-bodied cigar on its own. I think it's a little deceptive. I think it's a cigar that's a little closer to medium, but if light-bodied cigars are your thing and you want just a little kiss of spice in there, I think you could easily transition to this one. Where do you put that on the...
Yeah, we definitely make our cigars medium body. Full to medium. Over time, the bit of fullness that we may get will translate back down into medium body.
Right,
but as they mellow out a little bit over time. So we like to say we're right in the middle in terms of the blend, the firmness of it.
Yeah.
So it was interesting while we're sipping this craft beer, and I love Founders. They were an early discovery because not only do they do these great IPAs, but their strong ales and their
breakfast
stout,
their porter, their breakfast
amazing.
stout are legendary.
I mean, these guys really know
the
what
Dirty
they're doing.
Bastard is one of my absolute go-tos.
And so it's interesting that you mentioned Dirty Bastard because that ties in to this next thing that I read this week that's really, really interesting that basically says when it comes to craft beer, bad names are best. And it talks about the roots of craft beer, and it talks about the fact that back in 2012, and we were doing the show back then, we talked about this extensively when it happened, that AB InBev and Miller Coors, between them, gobbled up so many smaller brands that together they control about 90% of the beer market.
That's crazy.
So there's so many of these great independent breweries out there, but the real bulk comes from AB InBev and Miller Coors. I was at a great little restaurant last night. My wife and I went to see a play downtown, and we stopped this great little restaurant. They had this amazing pizza, but I had to get on to them about their beer selection. They had this whole cooler, And other than Dos Equis and Corona, it was all AB InBev.
Oh, wow.
So, I take that back. They had one St. Arnold beer, Lawnmower, which is what I got, but it's just,
Yeah, but that's phoning it in when you have one local.
That's the reason these guys control so much of the market is places like that are using only their beers, whether it's their macros or the other ones that they create. But basically, the craft beer movement that's outside of those guys has discovered basically that, according to a new study, that offerings like Ugly Pug from Roaring Sons or I Hate My Boss Coffee Stout, the names that reflect that kind of independence, Backwoods Bastard or Dirty Bastard from Founders, those have a tendency to be more important in many cases for sales than even how the beer tastes. Now, there's wines and spirits with weird names. There's, Bog Monster Gin, and there's actually a Sauvignon Blanc wine called Cat Pee on a Gooseberry Bush. I don't know that I would buy that.
There's a Scotch called Peat Monster as well.
Yeah, and cannabis. They've got strains like Grandpa's Breath and Unicorn Poop and stuff like that. But what we're discovering in craft beer is that these kind of outrageous names have a tendency to draw people in.
Yeah.
And I admit, I'm the same way. You look at it on the shelf, you're like, well, I have to try that. Dirty Bastard. Come on. What? How could I not try that? So anyway, it's an interesting trend. And now the next time you go into your favorite craft beer store, think about that as you're looking at the beers and see how many of them fall into that category.
Right.
It's more than you might think. There's even here in Houston, which is our hometown, there are several great craft breweries that use the whole space and astronaut theme.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a whole brewery called Bad Astronaut.
Well, that's what I was getting at. Their whole name is Bad Astronaut.
And True Anomaly.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're going for all of that from the very beginning. So
and you got Eighth Wonder with Haterade.
Right. Yeah. And what is the beer? There's a beer out of Dallas there's a brewery out of Dallas that brews a beer called Oklahoma Sucks.
Yeah, it's Martin House. Actually.
Is that Martin House?
Yeah, it was Martin House.
Those guys, they got it. And one of our favorites here in our area, Ingenious. They have some amazingly crazy beer names too. So you see it all over the place, and you'll find it really anywhere you go. Later on in the show, we're going to bring you a new list by supposed experts of the top 5 tap rooms in the United States. And I'm really anxious to get to this. I think it's going to be really interesting. They've narrowed it down to 5. And of course, I could give you my 5 and I could call myself an expert.
Right. I wonder if I've been to any of them. That'll be interesting to see.
To do what?
If I've been to any of those tap rooms, it'd be interesting to see.
Well, we will find out about that actually fairly shortly on the program. Also still to come on today's show, we mentioned drinking news. We'll be getting to that. We're going to have a chat with Ben, who is the proprietor here, the owner of the cigar lounge and shop here in Katy called Cigar Express. And I'm really
Cigar
excited.
Exchange.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I hate that I screwed that up. Cigar Exchange. But we want to talk to him because I think it's probably harder than ever to do what he has done. I can tell by walking through his humidor. You can go out and start a cigar store, and you can rent the space, and you can, get some cigars and bring them in. But to get the quality that he's got, a lot of shops I see this size, they're a little bit smaller cigar shops, just don't. I mean, they may have a few great things, but they don't seem to be as well represented as what he's done. So I want to find out how he did it. Because I'm not even sure how long the shop has been here.
Just from the, I was talking to him. Well, he'll talk all about that. But it's been here for a year and a half now, I believe.
Oh my gosh! Then I'm even more impressed.
And I think this is a thing we'll definitely want to talk to him and talk to you about, especially is the distribution side of it.
Right.
There are big companies that if you want their cigar on your shelf, you have to dedicate X amount of your humidor
to their
that.
products. Yeah,
David.
Correct.
David.
But not like they don't have their own stores where they have about 90% of the shelf space.
And David has great cigars, but they're also very pricey and they don't work in every market. So like being able to do like he's done and really hand choose what he has in there, what he knows his customers are going to appreciate. I think that's a great.
He's done an amazing job, and that's what the average consumer doesn't realize. the amount of capital that goes into stock
Right.
and humidor.
And,
and the outrageous amounts.
The hurdles you've got to jump through to get the stuff
Correct.
that you really want in there. So we'll talk to him about that coming up. We'll talk a little more about Emperor's Cut and what you guys are doing with the company that I think is so fantastic. And our guest is Darnell Streat. He's the managing partner with Emperor's Cut Cigars. And by the way, big thanks to our guest from last week, the one and only Chris Morris, our smoking and toasting cocktail expert, who was a lot of fun. So if you haven't heard last week's show, go check it out on YouTube or on wherever you get your podcast. We're all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. This is Smoking and Toasting, and we'll be right back. So, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's Smoking and Toasting. I don't know if you could hear that because we didn't have it mic'd, but Ian, that was an almost perfect. Oh, you did have it mic'd. That was an almost perfect beer can open sound effect. Here at Smoking and Toasting, of course, we do all our own sound effects. It's kind of like the guys that do all their own stunt work. We do all our own sound effects, and it's one of the things we pride ourselves on. Darnell Streat with Emperor's Cut Cigars is here. We're smoking the new Emperor's Cut.
Red tail.
Yeah, it's a red tail. This one is a tribute to the Tuskegee Airmen. Beautiful cigar backs, which we absolutely love. Darnell, we were talking a little bit about you guys being a boutique cigar company. So you go out, you get a new account somewhere,
right?
And you get your cigars in their humidor for the first time. What can you do as a company to let that shop's customers know something about your cigars? Because they come in, they see all the names they recognize. They don't recognize yours because they're seeing it for the first time. How do you convince that cigar lover to give you a chance and try one of them?
Well, what we'll do, we'll come in, we'll pre-plan some type of light event to introduce the cigar. We'll spend maybe 2 weeks promoting the cigar online and to the adjacent area. And then we'll come in and we will literally shake every hand we can and convince you to buy our cigar. And the beautiful part about it, we usually have 1 or 2 customers that's been smoking the other brands. We draw them into the conversation to say, hey, tell your buddy what you think about this cigar. So we use customers on top of customers to draw into it.
I was going to ask you this. As a black-owned company, do you find that the African-American cigar community is interested in supporting you beyond? In other words, does that give them an incentive to try these cigars?
It does. It gives us a slight incentive, and I'll say, a small percentage. But at the end of the day, they're like other consumers. If you've got a bad product, maybe more than I want to hear, they'll let you know, like really quick.
No, it's 100% true.
Right. They vote with their dollars, and so you've got to be good.
It's really good, though, because we talk a lot about the need for diversity in craft beer, in cigars, in the spirits industry. Right. And it's so great to see guys like you who are getting out there and, you're marketing your boxes. None of this says, America's black-owned cigar company.
Right.
But at the core of what you do, it's so great to see you guys getting out there, helping to diversify this industry. And like you said, the quality's there. So people are going to come back to the cigars because of how good they are.
Yeah, really all it takes is, let me try one cigar
right.
and then I'm in,
And we've tried. Now, how many cigars are in your line right now?
We have the Emperor's Cut Natural Pleasure, our first line that you looked at. Our second one, the Jazz, probably was show number 2.
Jazz, yes.
Love the Jazz.
And we have another brand that we had called Indulgence, and I think we had it in a manufacturing, and we probably had the box and not the cigar. And then this is our latest cigar, the Red Tail.
So you guys are really growing at a nice clip. And I don't know if you can answer this or not, and it's totally fine if you're not comfortable doing it, but what kind of investment does it take to launch a company like you guys have done? Because it's very impressive what you've accomplished. I'm just curious how much you had to spend to make this happen.
Well, we're going into our 6th year. So to give you an example, we've put a few $100,000 into growing the brand, and we still are trying to grow our market share to become very cash flow positive. So we think the journey is another year or 2. we're trying to grow the brand and not not have a cigar company
where
we sell cigars. We want to grow the brand so that when you see it, Emperor's Cut is quality.
You see that logo. That logo is a great logo.
And so you're taking your revenue and pouring it
we're
right back in.
We're pouring it all back in. We want to grow the brand. We're in for it for the long haul. We like maybe one day, La Aurora, somebody come by and scoop us up.
Did COVID affect you guys in terms of sales?
Actually, COVID was good for us because
I've heard that from several cigar companies.
Yeah, they were home, and so they couldn't get out. They had extra money, and the more we promoted, the more cigars we sold. It was probably one of our best years.
It's really interesting because for so many businesses, it was really, really tough. For the cigar industry, it was not. We haven't had time to really talk about this, but I just want to say I really love this dry hopped pills called Luppolo.
It's good. It's right on the edge of being an IPA.
Yeah, because it's got enough.
Because it's real crispy real crispy and hoppy as well.
And this is from Oxbow Brewing Company. They are out of Newcastle, Maine, and this is though I think is really delicious and refreshing.
Luppolo is an unfiltered pills brewed with European malts and noble hops. That noble hops is so good. Named after the Italian word for hop, this Italian style pills is an homage to the hop forward pale lagers produced in Italy.
Yeah, it does have a little bit of that Italian beer flavor to it. So I like it. We'll talk a little bit more about it when we come back. And also when we come back, we want to talk to the proprietors of this cigar shop. I want to find out how they get it this cool in such a short amount of time. It's Smoking and Toasting, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Smoking and Toasting is our program that's all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Heard all over the United States on great radio stations. We don't know which ones, but we will know eventually. And we're also heard all over the world in our award-winning podcast. So I call it award-winning because my good friend Dave Murphy gave me an award for the podcast. He thought it was really great, and he said, here, I'm going to give you an award. And you know what he did? He bought me a really, really good cigar. And that was my award. So we are now award-winning.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. We also, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Smoking and Toasting has a very big distinction among podcasts. We read recently a report that said of all the podcasts ever, only 4% are still active and produced an episode last week. Thereby, we can now absolutely, truthfully claim that Smoking and Toasting is in the top 4% of all podcasts in the world.
Congrats.
There you go.
All right.
So congratulations
it's
to
reaching,
us.
but it's okay.
And Ben, I want to say congratulations to you because I didn't know until Darnell told us how long you've been open here at Cigar Exchange.
Right.
Yeah.
We've been here a year and 5 months.
So it's even more impressive to me now how well-rounded your selection is in the humidor. Because, we go to cigar shops of all kinds. There's the ones that have, hundreds and hundreds of different brands and have a huge humidor. The neighborhood shops that are more the size of yours, I'll tell you, yours is one of the best selections, the best curated selections of cigars that I have seen in a shop that's more of a neighborhood shop like yours.
Right.
And I'm telling you, I understand that that's not easy.
Right.
Because we were talking about all of the things that you have to do to be able to get that kind of a selection. Some of the brands, they don't know you when you're brand new. They don't know if you're going to be there in 6 months. They don't know if you're going to, actually pay the bill when you order the cigars. There's all of those things, and it can be difficult to set up these accounts. Plus, a lot of them will then say, well, if you're going to carry our cigars, we've got to have X amount of your shelf space in your humidor. So all of that makes it really threading a needle, I think, to come up with the cigar. So without giving away too many secrets, how did you manage to make the selection that impressive?
Good question. So how we initially did it when we opened, we didn't fill our cigar, the humidor. We got some of the top brands in there. Mm-hmm. And what we did was when we opened, as our customers came in, as our membership started to grow, we actually started buying what our customers wanted.
What they were asking for.
And so that's how we've pretty much populated the humidor.
Well, I'm taking a look at the brands in there. You know, it's not just the big sort of brands that you see everywhere.
Right.
You've got some of those brands, some of the major but you've also got, you've got AJ Fernandez stuff, you've got Rocky Patel's stuff, and a nice broad selection of it. And then you've got
Patrons.
but the Patrons, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you've got the really cool boutique stuff like Emperor's Cut.
Correct.
And how not to put you on the spot, but how does this guy's stuff sell here? Does it sell well?
I tell you, Emperor's Cut is one of our best sellers.
That is awesome.
It is one of our best sellers. We started out with the Jazz series and the Natural Pleasures.
Love the Jazz
and
series.
the Jazz series just took off.
Yeah.
And we Darnell and team were a great team. When they came out, they were one of the best suppliers we met. Right.
That's so cool.
I'm not saying that just because he's sitting on side of me here, but they were transparent, and so we were fortunate enough. The Red Tail, we were one of the few just to initially come out with the Red Tail, and we did a nice campaign for that, and the Red Tail just took off as well.
How long have you had the Red Tail on your shelf?
We started was it January or February?
Actually, November.
November. Oh, it was November.
November.
Yeah,
Wow.
we started in November.
And one of the things that, if this is one of your best sellers, this has to be because your customers are trying it, they're liking it, and they're coming back again. So this is a repeat customer thing. Am I
It's
right?
a repeat customer thing, and word of mouth is how we've done everything here. Even grow the business. We as I mentioned to you earlier, we did the advertising, we did all that, and it was okay. But providing a nice lounge, providing a good selection of cigars, and then Empress Cut came to us with a good following as well.
Yeah. Are you seeing, as over the past several years, as cigar prices have climbed a bit, are you seeing that causing people to taper off a little bit? Are they being more selective? What kind of an impact does it have on the humidor and the cash register?
So for us, a year and a half in, cigar prices have gone up twice. And so you take into effect the prices going up and this current environment. What we're seeing is we're still seeing our customer base come in where they may be buying fewer cigars.
Fewer cigars per trip.
Per trip. They're still buying their favorite sticks. They're still buying their cigars, but they may buy less.
When the whole inflation thing started to climb, I really tried going, okay, I can smoke less expensive cigars, and tried to back it down a little bit, That didn't last too long. I got to be honest with you. It really didn't. I mean, not to say that there's not some good inexpensive cigars out there, but man, when you want that experience, you don't want a sort of a lesser experience. Am I right?
Well, your palate, right? Your palate is elevated, and it's kind of hard.
I know. I almost wish it was back when I just started. I was like, oh, this stuff is pretty good. Now I would be like,
not so
I've
much.
had better.
Not so much. We had an interesting conversation before we got the show set up. I showed up a little earlier and had a cigar, and we were chatting. And one of the things that we talked about was cigar shop etiquette.
Oh, man.
Like one of those things.
I love that.
And one of the things that came up, so if you're listening to this, a little bit of cigar shop etiquette. When you walk into a cigar shop, don't open up your humidor that you walked in with and smoke one of those cigars.
Oh, yeah, it's just bad form.
It's bad etiquette. And he, like you mentioned, like you don't walk into a bar and bring your own beer.
Right.
You know, like it just doesn't make any sense.
It's not BYOC.
Yeah. You don't go to your favorite seafood restaurant and you bring your own fish, right?
That's right.
Now, if it's one of the places that has lockers, you can smoke the cigars you've got in your locker. But
yeah, but that's different.
Correct.
Yeah,
that's correct. You've purchased a locker. You're paying monthly or yearly, and
that's right.
You purchased a locker. Correct.
What about etiquette of just when people hang out? One of the things that I've noticed, you tell me if you find this true or not, is that the cigar lounge is one of those places where differences don't seem to be such a big deal. I see people of different ethnicities, people of different political persuasions, just hanging out, talking about what they have in common, which is the love of cigars or maybe sports or other things. Do you find that to be true? I mean, it's such a weirdly divided country in so many ways right now. Is the cigar lounge maybe one of the last best places to just hang with people and get along? What do you think?
Yep. So for me, cigars is a common denominator, right?
Right.
I mean, it's something that everybody has in common. Everybody loves cigars. And what we see here at the lounge is we have a very diverse clientele. And when people walk in, the environment that we've set here at Cigar Exchange is when everybody walks in, you feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And so we have a very diverse audience. I mean, you come in here on Fridays. I mean, the guys we're sitting there, we're talking sports. You know, during the week, we have gentlemen and ladies come in and work on their laptops on their lunch hour, closing their sales out for the day. So, yes, cigars is a common denominator.
You have a very inclusionary feel here, too. Like, your whole front area is nice and open with these beautiful, comfortable chairs. So you don't feel like when you walk in, you have to be part of some kind of club, which this was more of a deal 10, 15 years ago when you walked into certain places. You could buy a cigar, but if you wanted to go sit in a lounge, you couldn't unless you were a member. And that's changed. This is a different kind of thing. You have your members and you have a membership area. As a matter of fact, we're sitting in one of the membership areas right now.
Correct.
And there's a definite advantage to that for certain people who want to go back there and like do their thing, that kind of thing. But out front, you've got this great social area. You had great music playing. You had a nice Sonos system. Sounds good, you know. So,
and I was at home immediately when I walked in because he's got a framed and signed Hakeem Olajuwon jersey.
That's awesome.
Come on, that's just about as awesome as it gets right there.
Right.
I absolutely love it. I feel like the whole inclusionary thing that you mentioned, that's what I love so much about a great cigar lounge, and this place is a wonderful example of that.
Thank
You just feel welcome when you walk in.
Appreciate
that. Whether it's just somebody nodding at you and smiling or saying hello, or just it's not one of those things where you feel like somebody's going to follow you into the humidor and pressure you to buy the most expensive cigar in there.
Right.
It's just got a nice sort of a friendly and an open feel to it, and to me, that sets the tone for what happens when you're just hanging with somebody you maybe just met, smoking a cigar together in the lounge.
That is correct.
That's where it all comes from.
What I love about here is that it's got a nice family undertone. I'm in the public's eye a lot, so a lot of places I go, people know me, and I can tell Ben, I'm just going to sit in the back and smoke a cigar. And you get that common courtesy. You get someone may come by and say, hey, I know you, and shake your hand and keep on going. So you can really enjoy yourself here. And Ben and Lily have done a great job of doing that. Everybody feels welcome when they come through the door.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Guys, next week on our show, we're doing our first ever Anejo Tequila blind taste test.
That's going to be fun.
And we'll be having our tequila expert, Liliana Rodriguez, will be in with us, and our wine expert, Mark Burrell, who's also a big fan of tequila, has been begging to come on this show. And so we said, come on, we love you, come on. They're both great guests, but we'll be tasting tequila without knowing what it is and picking our favorites from each group and then picking our overall favorites at the end of the show. So we're getting warmed up for that today with another Anejo tequila. If you guys want to help us taste this, that'd be awesome. This is Pardita.
Tequila Pardita, Reserva Tequila Pardita, Anejo. And wow, it's really good. It's silky. It's buttery. It's many, many beautiful things. Have you tried this yet?
I have.
I noticed the bottleneck was cleared, so we didn't have any spillage, and you had already taken the plastic off the top, so there's no like plastic cuts.
I knew that we'd be trying this in someone's establishment, and there are OSHA rules and regulations that this man has to follow. So this is not a place where I want you getting injured by the plastic.
Right.
So at home, I removed that and then cleared some of the tequila out of the neck of the
That's
bottle
very kind of you.
so that you wouldn't.
I didn't bring my chainmail gloves, so I didn't get the
I appreciate it. I appreciate the safety tip.
Yeah, that's look, we're very we're very responsible. That's
what this tequila is not super peppery. It's got a little pepper undertone to it, but it's not super peppery up front. It's got a sweetness.
It's
really
going to be
nice.
real interesting
lots
to me.
of vanilla in there.
It's going to be real interesting to me when we try, because this will be one of the ones we have in our taste test next week. When we try it against the other things to see how a tequila like this, competes, how it stands up with the others. Because I will say in solo, in isolation, it's just really good. Very, very easy to drink. Almost, I'm glad there is a little bit of a heat to it.
There's a little heat that happens.
Because otherwise it would be almost a little too easy to drink, if you know what I mean.
The vanilla notes are very nice. I'm picking those up right off the bat.
Yeah.
And I
vanilla.
love a spirit that has vanilla notes when I'm enjoying a cigar. It seems to be the one note, whether it's a rye whiskey or a rum or tequila. If it's got that vanilla note to it, it feels like it just marries better with the cigar. It's one of the most compatible notes. Ian, your overall thought?
Agreed.
I think it's great. The nose on this is very earthy too. Like you get a little of the vanilla on the nose, and the obvious tequila and agave thing going on. But it's got a very earthiness to it, and the aftertaste, like if you wait just past the heat and everything else, the aftertaste also has kind of a very mineral and earthy kind of thing going on.
It's about a $45 bottle, and it's really worth it. We're going to take a break and return. Thank you for letting us do our show here today. This has been great fun. We are live at the Cigar Exchange, Katy, Texas. It's Smoking and Toasting. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. We're live at the Cigar Exchange, and we have exchanged some cigars here, which is a good thing.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Ian, I've got a CI alternative that I'll exchange you for an Andalusian Bull.
let me think about that for a minute.
Okay. One of the things we promised to do on today's show, interesting article that I ran across from Pace Magazine that proposes alternatives to some of the really trendy, hard to find, and expensive bourbons that are out there. So I thought we'd run through this, Ian. I know you're something of an aficionado when it comes to whiskey. So
I practice.
Feel free to join in.
I practice whiskey at home when I can.
The WL Weller is a pretty popular, sometimes difficult to find the Weller 12 year.
I'm sad that became popular because that used to be on my shelf all the time. You could grab it.
Yep.
And it was inexpensive. I'm sad.
It's the same wheated bourbon mash bill as Buffalo Trace's Pappy Van Winkle, and you know how expensive Pappy is.
Right.
So that's a big deal. Well, the article here suggests the alternative is larceny. Larceny whiskey.
We've tried larceny.
Yeah, and it's really quite good. What they've tried to do is go for a really similar taste flavor profile on these, so it's kind of interesting. And you can read this whole article at pastemagazine.com if you want to, because I think it's very interesting. The second one they talk is an alternative to Pappy Van Winkle, which we just mentioned, which Pappy can run hundreds of dollars.
And on a secondary, it can get outrageous.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So they say as an alternative, try a Maker's Mark Private Selection.
Those are great.
And I think they're spot on. I've got several Maker's Mark Private Selections in my bar, and I kind of almost save them for special occasions. They're so good.
Yeah.
You know, they're just really a good alternative. And, you know, you can grab the regular Maker's Mark cask strength for around $50. But if you drop an extra 10, you can go into this private selection.
Or the Maker's 46, which is good.
Yeah.
It's got lots of great.
I love the Maker's 46. Yeah. Booker's is a favorite of mine. Mm-hmm. I like Booker's. I love the Little Book series.
Little Book series, so good.
Fantastic. Their alternative to that, because those can be hard to find and expensive, their alternative is Knob Creek, the single barrel select.
Yeah, Knob Creek's great.
That's a really, really good
and you can get the combat size bottle of that for I don't know, $40.
Now you know, Ian, the Old Forester birthday bourbon, the one in the big fat round bottle. That's a wonderful, wonderful bourbon. A little bit expensive. You know what's almost as good and less cheap? Or less cheap. Less expensive.
Less
Thank
expensive.
you. Is the Old Forester 1920 Prohibition.
100%.
It's a great alternative, and it's not going to set you back. What's it, about $60?
Yeah, the whole Old Forester line is fantastic.
Yeah. Now, one that I remember trying, years ago when it was all the rage. It's a little easier to get now, but not that easy. Is Blanton's.
Yeah, good luck finding that.
Yeah, Blanton's. I've seen it on the shelf a few times.
Yeah.
But what the article suggests as an alternative is just a bottle of the regular Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, Buffalo Trace is fantastic.
Yeah, it's a very similar mash bill, and Blanton's prices have gotten outrageous, especially on the secondary market. So the Willett Family Estate bottled bourbon. I don't know if you had this one, Ian, but they say Wild Turkey Rare Breed is the right.
Oh, Wild Turkey's outrageously good. Yeah, Wild Turkey all day.
And the George T. Stagg a pretty expensive bourbon. They say it's a knock your socks off 15-year aged bourbon, but you know what's just as good? Elijah Craig barrel proof.
Elijah Craig barrel proof.
Cannot go wrong.
And you can find it.
Yes. And finally, Kentucky Owl bourbon, and I have not had that, so I don't know a whole lot about it, but they're recommending the Bellmead Cask Strength Reserve.
Bellmead's great too. Those are solid recommendations from my knowledge.
Oh, and one more, Elmer T. Lee, which is a little pricey. The Russell's Reserve single barrel.
Nice.
That is a really nice.
Russell's Reserve is becoming one of those a little harder to find too.
Yeah. Oh, I have a full bottle of that in my bar. You need to come over. We need to drink. We're smoking and toasting, and coming up in our next segment, the single most popular feature on this program is a little something called Drinking News. We'll have it for you when we come back.
Awesome.
In the beginning,
welcome back. You are watching and or listening to Smoking and Toasting, show number 324. And by the way, I want to mention that when we get to show number 333, which will happen on June 19th, we are inviting, it's going to be our second big anniversary show. We did the first one at show number 100. At 200, we were right in the middle of lockdown, and so we didn't get to do an anniversary show. So we decided we'd wait and do it at 300. 300 came along, and we thought, let's just go a little farther. So we're going to show number 333, and we're throwing our second big anniversary party. And everyone who's ever been a guest on the show is invited.
Right. It's going to be ridiculous.
We're going to do it downtown, outside on the 8th floor balcony of my building. We got a big space there. We'll have tables set up. We'll have food. And everybody's invited to bring their cigars, their spirits, their beers. We'll share. We'll pass them around. We'll pass the mics around. And I will do my very best to hit the time cues for broadcast because it's going to be out of control. We did our 100th show. The show went on for over 4 hours. So This one will likely go on once the radio portion of it has completed, and we'll just keep doing it all as a bonus segment on the podcast. But anyway, you guys are both invited. We'll make sure we get all your information before we leave here, so we'll be able to invite you. Come on down, enjoy some food and drinks, and Uber is recommended.
Thank you. Right. Thank you.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. What has emerged over the past couple of years is that this very segment has become the most popular segment on the program. It's a little something we like to call Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said, I
had to take my gator to the vet.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. All right, a reminder for those who are new to the program and new to Drinking News. This is the segment where we bring you a true story, something that happened in the world. And we say it's true to the very best of our ability and knowledge. In other words, we don't get it from parody sites like The Onion. This was reported somewhere on some television station or in some newspaper that would be considered, a mainstream news source.
Yeah.
Right. So these are stories that are often, but not always, about drinking. But they are always best enjoyed if you've been drinking. And we've had tequila and beers. We have another beer, a double IPA on the way. So hopefully we're in a good place now to receive today's drinking news. All of us at one time or another have experienced the frustration of being denied something that we believe we were promised. Maybe it's a tire shop that's offering tires on sale at half price, except when you get there, you discover that the tires for your car aren't included, and your tires, of course, are outrageously expensive.
Buy 4 and you get the other 2 free.
Right, exactly. Maybe it's an online site that advertises free shipping, except you don't find out until you're placing your order that in order to get the free shipping and qualify for it, you got to spend $500 to qualify, and you were ordering condoms, and you should be so lucky as to need that many. Or maybe you're just looking for a free cookie that you're supposed to get if an employee doesn't ask you about the restaurant's rewards plan, like they're apparently supposed to do, and you're now being denied said cookie. It happens. In fact, that's exactly what happened when a Florida woman. You usually give us a little flourish.
Yeah, a little stinger.
So we'll go back and we'll do that again. Ready? That's exactly what happened when a Florida woman. It's always Florida. Always. A Florida woman named Amari Hendricks truly believed that she was owed a cookie by a McDonald's in Altamonte Springs. Hendricks was in her car in the drive-thru when McDonald's employees apparently did not immediately ask her about the rewards program. And, she immediately demanded her cookie right here.
Oh,
now.
She was waiting for it, huh?
When they protested, Hendricks became irate and started arguing loudly with the employees and eventually with the manager. And they finally gave her this cookie that she seemed to want so badly. But she was still really upset. So then she did what anyone would do. Well, maybe not anyone. She pulled out a gun, inserted a magazine, and racked the slide. What? Because
she pulled out a gun, inserted a that's not like I just have a handgun in my pocket.
Right. Yeah. She pulls it out just like, Kiefer Sutherland on 24, racks the slide, and because of course she did.
Because cookie.
Because
that she already got.
Florida. According to the arrest documents, and yes, there were arrest documents.
Of course there were.
The McDonald's manager said she actually heard the Florida woman chamber the round into the firearm. Now, the manager said she feared for her life, so she immediately backed away from the drive-thru window. But another employee standing in the area said...
Hold on. Let me unpackage a few things here.
Please do.
So by this point in time, she's had the argument. She's already won the argument. She's gotten the cookie. And she pulls out her gun, which she apparently keeps because she needs a gun in the car.
Uh-huh.
But then you
never know when you're going to be denied a cookie.
Then you have to put the magazine, slide the magazine in.
Yep.
And then chamber the round.
Right.
You would figure if you're carrying around a gun and you're a little that loose, you'd already be prepared, right?
Maybe so.
She's got a little less preparedness going on, and I think
I think that may be true. So this employee, even though the manager backed away, the employee said that they were in the area, standing right there, and they saw Hendricks point the gun through the service window. And this employee says they were momentarily, and I'm quoting here, able to see down the barrel. You have not lived until you've almost died because you're looking down the barrel of a loaded gun.
Holy crap.
The manager immediately called for the McDonald's to be put on lockdown and began to get everything set up. But apparently Hendricks was reportedly able to pull her car around and make it on foot in through the front door because an employee apparently didn't lock it properly. So now you got a mistake, right?
Oh, this is a comedy of errors here.
Hendricks grabs the employee by his left arm, forces him out of the business, and then began to strike him multiple times, according to police. It left him with multiple scratches to his face and neck, although he did manage to free himself, according to officers. And when the cops arrested her, they found the loaded handgun on the driver's side floorboard of her car. Hendricks says she always kept it with her, but unloaded, and she had no idea how the bullets actually made their way into her gun. Maybe it was the bullet fairy or something. Right. Who knows? She did acknowledge that she had it on her person during her physical altercation with this employee. Police say that surveillance footage does show her in the drive-thru waving a gun around in the car. So there was that. She was arrested and charged with 2 counts of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon and other charges as well. Now listen, I'll admit, McDonald's is a half-decent place to get a cheap hamburger. And I don't know what they do to their fries, but they're pretty much like French fry crack. There is not a fry in fast food that comes close to McDonald's. They're amazing. But let's get real here. Their cookies, meh. Yeah. They're not really all that great. I mean, sometimes they're even stale, depending on how long they've been sitting in that case on the counter. Definitely not worth going to jail for. And if you're really going to be upset about something at McDonald's, here's something for you. How about the fact that the freaking ice cream machine is broken again? Because as you probably know, it's always broken.
The thing is, those ice cream machines are broken when they install them, and they occasionally
get them to work.
Fix them.
I think that's right. So the next time you find yourself at the Golden Arches, waving a gun around like the Hamburglar threatening bodily harm to Mayor McCheese, at least make it over something more important than a freaking cookie.
I mean, even their coffee's decent.
Reporting live from the drive-thru at McDonald's, where, oh, damn it, they just asked me about the rewards program. No cookie for me.
No cookie.
My name's Cruz, and that is your...
Drinking news, drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. So, guys, was this your first? Were we doing drinking news the last time you were on the show? I don't think we were.
I don't think you were.
Yeah. So it's been one of those things that popped up. So this was your first drinking news. Congratulations.
I hope she enjoyed the cookie in jail.
Yeah. I wonder if she even had a chance to eat it.
Well, I mean, like once you have your cookie, the argument's over, right? Like, why did she park and go back in?
That's just she was just. I know it said her name was like I think Amari, but I bet her middle name was Karen.
She had some kind of point to get across. Apparently,
it had to be a Karen. Our show is on location today. We are at the wonderful neighborhood cigar lounge and humidor at Cigar Exchange in Katy, Texas. Are you from Katy? Was this the reason you decided to? Is this where you live, and so you wanted to put a neighborhood cigar place together, or did you pick this as an optimum location and you drive here from somewhere else?
No, we actually moved out to Brookshire, which is right outside of Katy. We built about 2 years ago. And when I moved out here, it wasn't a nice cigar lounge that we can go and sit and have a good environment.
So you feel the need.
I feel the need.
That may have something to do with the fact that you've been as successful as you have in a fairly short amount of time.
Correct.
That and the quality of the cigars.
Correct. And the environment.
And the environment,
yes.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it sounds like it would be an easy thing to do. Trust me, it's not.
You guys, it's just you and your wife here, right? You're doing this whole shop yourself for the last year and a half.
That is correct.
That's a lot of work.
That is correct.
Open 11 to 9 every day?
11 to 9 every day, Sundays 12 to 5.
Okay.
Ian, it reminds me of when you and I did the show in Los Angeles at the Beverly Hills Cigar Lounge.
I mentioned that story to him.
Right. That's the way they get around. There's so many rules and regulations in California, particularly in Beverly Hills, that the way they get around being able to have a cigar lounge is they don't have any employees. It's just the owner and his wife keeping the shop. And they do a nice job.
Because you couldn't subject an unsuspecting person who wanted to work at a cigar shop to cigar smoke.
Yeah.
An adult, right?
Right. I'll never understand it. Ian, you have poured us a double IPA from Drekker. We've had Drekker's beers on the show before, but it has been quite a while. And I'm looking at it, and it almost looks more like orange juice than beer.
It is double and hazy.
Yeah, it is very hazy. It is actually called Blacklight Syndicate, which sounds like a metal band. But
the cover of it looks like a metal band thing, right?
Yeah, you've got the flaming skull there.
Yes.
What's your take on it, Ian? I know I'm the IPA guy, so I'm always going to taste something like this and go, "Oh yeah, that's kind of up my alley."
So I think this is overbalanced.
Yeah,
I think there's a little sweetness at the beginning. It's really bitter at the end, if you ask me.
I think they counteract each other.
Interestingly enough, after the bitter goes away, there's a little sweetness that lingers, which is kind of fun. It's drinkable. I think there's I had a double IPA from St. Arnold yesterday, and that is very balanced, but it's also not hazy. So I don't know if that's a 1-to-1 kind of thing.
I would say, because I've had a number of doubles that are hazy, and to me, this one avoids that kind of, I kind of like boozy. If you're talking with a stout,
like
this doesn't feel boozy to me at all.
This looks like it has pulp in it.
Oh, it might. It does, though. It looks like it's got pulp floating in there. That's pretty awesome. That's kind of like when I make those vodka gimlets. There's always a little of the lime pulp in there. No, I actually really like this. To me, this is balanced, but then my palate's different for IPAs than yours is. So, what do you guys think?
Tastes like it's got pineapple in it.
Oh, it really does. It's got all kinds of tropical fruit notes floating around in there with the pulp.
I like it.
What about you?
It tastes good.
Yeah.
I'm really not a beer guy, so I really couldn't give you much on that.
I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we brought you in the tequila segment.
If it was tequila, bourbon, scotch, I'm in there.
Yeah, I got you. I think this is good. It comes in the 16-ounce cans. This is one you would seek out. I actually would. I would.
Yeah, I
buy
probably
this.
wouldn't seek it out. It's nice enough, but I don't know that I'd go buy another 6-pack of it.
Like a backyard barbecue. I could tear up a few of these.
If you're having one, I want an invite because
You got it.
That sounds good. All right. While we're talking beers, let's talk tap rooms. If you're a beer fan, you've got your favorites, and I know I have my favorites here in our town and some favorites that I've enjoyed when I've visited from other cities. But a research outfit called Study Finds, named after I guess the expression "the study finds," they did a survey, did their research apparently, and again, all of these are just someone's opinion, but I think it makes for interesting conversation. Oh, I'm finding out we're almost out of time for this segment, so I'll start this. We'll finish it up in our last segment. They picked 5 that they thought were the best in the United States.
Entire United States.
Yep. The first one is in Colorado, New Belgium Brewing Company, their tap room in Fort Collins, Colorado. I do love New Belgium's beers. In Grand Rapids, Michigan, they picked City Built Brewing Company. City Built Brewing Company, and I'm not familiar with them. I am familiar with the brewery in Austin, Texas called Jester King. They're picking Jester King's tap room as number 3.
I would have thought maybe Celis too. Have you been there?
I love
beautiful,
Celis.
beautiful
and
tap room.
What is the something Austin Beer Garden? Do you know what I'm talking about?
South Austin
Beer Garden. That place is an amazing tap room. Number 4 on the list, Dogfish Head Brewery in Milton, Delaware. And the 5th one is one I'm not familiar with. It's Pure Project. Started by a California couple, and it is in California. So we'll talk about those a little bit. Maybe you can tell me what your favorites are when we come back. Plus, we have one more beer to try, and we want to wrap up our show. Guys, thank you so much for allowing us to be here today. And Darnell, big thumbs up on the cigar.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
All right, we'll be right back to wrap this up. It's Smoking Toast. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting, our 324th show, live with Emperor's Cut Cigars at the Cigar Exchange in Katy, Texas. And by the way, while Ian's pouring our final beer, I just want to mention today, Saturday, the 22nd of April, is Record Store Day in the United States of America. And I think they celebrate it in Canada too. So if you're somebody that loves going into the record store, finding a good old vinyl from somewhere, taking it back and playing it on your turntable, it's a day to celebrate the mom and pop little record stores. Because guys, that's all that's left. The big chains are gone.
Right.
Yeah, but it's these great little shops around. And I just wanted to recommend, if you're looking for a good beer to enjoy with your Record Store Day celebration, there's a number of great beers out there. And for that matter, there's some spirits too. We talked about Metallica's blackened whiskey earlier. There's some great spirits out there and some great beers that are affiliated with an artist or a singer or performer. One of my absolute all-time favorites is Dogfish Head's Moonpools and Caterpillars, which they did with the band The Flaming Lips.
Yeah.
That is a wonderful, weird, great beer. So I recommend you.
And a great band, too.
Yeah, and a great band, yeah. So, yeah, if you've got a favorite singer that's involved, and there's so many artists that are doing like tequilas now and different things, it's really worth trying some of them because, quite frankly, some of them are very good. Not all of them are Conor McGregor's whiskey. That's not too good.
I told you a buddy of mine had a bottle of that, and he's like, "Here, you want to try it?" I was like, "I don't know, man. I've heard bad things." And I couldn't stop finding things wrong with it. Like it was like staring at a car wreck, you know?
Wow.
Guys, thank you for being here today, for letting us do this show. Darnell, this cigar is a winner.
Thank you, sir.
It's absolutely wonderful, and I can't recommend it more highly. I think we may have asked you this off air, but what is the retail price for this if people find it in the shop?
It typically sells for about $13 at the retail level.
Yeah, it's totally worth it.
Absolutely,
very
is.
much worth it.
Absolutely is.
It's
totally worth it.
And if you are anywhere near the Katy area, this is a shop you should try. I mean, there's great cigar shops and cigar lounges everywhere, but the feel and the vibe of this place is just
It's
right.
great, and it's easy on off.
Easy on
freeway,
and off from the freeway. And the humidor, you will find something wonderful.
Keep in mind for all you beer drinkers too, you can stop here and get cigars, have a cigar, and then you can go just a mile or so down the road to No Label and have cigars on their patio.
Great beers too.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That's
absolutely
correct.
do. Ian, our last beer is one I've been really excited for you to try because I've had this one, and the first thought I had when I took the first sip was, Ian is
now
going
this
to
is
love
my speed.
this beer.
All right,
Yeah.
this is the type of beer I
It's
absolutely love.
From Martin House in Fort Worth, Texas.
And I've already been doing some research, and I absolutely love this beer.
I'm glad you have that commitment to doing the research. It's one of the things I respect about you.
I want to make sure that like my thoughts and all that are very informed. This is a smoked pecan and vanilla stout coming in at 10% alcohol.
And it is just so wonderful on the palate.
Smokiness is interesting because the smokiness doesn't hit you in the face, but like if you take a sip and you do a retro hair where you just breathe gently out of your nose, you get that smoky kind of pecan thing. And the pecan is a little more like the pecan shell. It's got a little astringency to it.
But the vanilla balances that astringency so perfectly. I mean, you were mentioning barbecue with the IPA. This would go great with barbecue too.
Yes, this is awesome.
I mean, think about some brisket, cooking
this
up.
Or smoked chicken. Or, man.
It's really refreshing though.
It really is. And not all stouts can really be described as refreshing.
Right.
They may be delicious, but they are. You wouldn't necessarily say, that's refreshing. This one is both delicious and refreshing. Did you say it's 10%?
10%, yeah. So it's coming in pretty big.
Doesn't feel all that boozy though.
No.
Yeah.
That's quite good. And it doesn't have a heavy mouthfeel either.
Yeah.
Like it looks in the glass a little heavier than it tastes too. Like you
Martin
said,
House.
It's almost more refreshing than it is, big and boozy kind of thing.
These guys at Martin House have got it going on. In fact, I do think we need to road trip to Martin House. You've actually been there before.
I have,
right?
I have.
Yeah, it's a pretty wonderful brewery, and they deserve your support. Big Country is the name of the beer. We suggest you try it. The Emperor's Cut. The red, I'm sorry, I want to make sure I say it right. The red tail series, beautiful box, great cigar. Gentlemen, thank you so much for hosting us today.
Thank you for being here.
We appreciate it.
Awesome.
Thank you guys for watching and listening. Smoking and Toasting is produced and recorded most of the time, at least in Houston, Texas. My co-host is Ian Barry. Keegan has been wonderful to step in and be behind the scenes for us engineering today because our regular engineer is out. He's not feeling well. Thanks to Adam in the Cloud, Mary who books the show. My name is Cruz. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week with a blind taste test of Anejo
That's
Tequila.
going to be so fun.
And you can see if we make it through the entire show. Have a good week, my friends, and thank you for watching and listening. And until we see you again next week, cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.